Birthdays are often treated as social punctuation marks, an occasion for cake, friends, attention, and ritual. But for many people, birthdays feel awkward, draining, or even threatening. This essay explores the psychological reasons behind that aversion, the role of personality and life history, cultural and interpersonal influences, and practical pathways toward healing and self-acceptance. Throughout, I draw on psychological research, clinical thinking, and quotes from well-known thinkers to help explain why a day that is meant to celebrate can instead unsettle. Most cultures have rituals marking another year of life, yet a surprising minority of people actively avoid celebrating their birthdays. That avoidance can be as simple as preferring a quiet day, or as strong as refusing to acknowledge the date at all. Understanding this reluctance is important because birthday avoidance can point to deeper patterns about self-worth, trauma, identity, social anxiety, or cultural values, and because it offers routes to healing that are gentle and practical rather than shaming. A major and often overlooked reason people dislike birthdays is personality. Introverts, people whose nervous systems and social needs incline them away from high levels of external stimulation, can find the social spotlight of birthdays tiring rather than nourishing. As Susan Cain has emphasized about introversion, don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. This is a reminder that preferring quiet or solitary celebration is a legitimate psychological style, not pathology. Practical dynamics. A birthday typically brings unexpected visits, attention from acquaintances, small talk, and social obligations. For someone who recharges through solitude or small, deep interactions, these demands can create anxiety and exhaustion. Several popular psychology articles and columns explore how introverts react to birthdays and the pressure to perform social joy. They emphasize that the pressure to make birthdays special is itself an external social script that can feel alienating. Personality also includes traits like sensory sensitivity and neuroticism. People who are more prone to physiological reactivity or anxious anticipation may dread the unpredictability of a party, the unknown faces, the possible criticisms, or the worry that the event will reveal some aspect of themselves they'd rather keep private. Childhood experiences create the templates we carry into adult celebrations. For some, birthdays were joyful and validating. For others, they were sites of disappointment, neglect, teasing, or forced attention. A person whose childhood birthdays were inconsistent, celebrated one year and ignored the next, may have come to associate the date with disappointment or shame. A pilot study and other research into birthday attitudes suggest that cultural and family practices vary widely, and these early patterns predict adult meaning attached to birthdays. If a child was bullied about their cake, teased for how they looked blowing out candles, or punished on that day, the birthday can become a conditioned cue for distress. Trauma researchers emphasize that the body and memory encode repeated patterns of threat. When certain dates or rituals echo past pain, avoidance is a reasonable coping strategy. As Bessel van der Kolk wrote about trauma, traumatized people chronically feel unsafe inside their bodies. That internal sense of unsafety can extend to events that trigger memories or social exposure. Birthday rituals implicitly create a stage where identity is affirmed. Others publicly acknowledge your existence, worth, and relationships. For people who struggle with shame, the painful feeling that one is fundamentally flawed or unworthy, this public affirmation can be terrifying because it risks exposure. Brené Brown's work on shame and vulnerability highlights how public moments of attention can trigger shame narratives. If a person fears judgment or believes they must hide imperfections, public recognition can feel like an invitation to notice one's distance from the social ideal. Shame and perfectionism also make birthdays painful through social comparison. Social media often amplifies curated birthday posts. Smiling faces, big parties, perfect cakes. That can leave someone who is private or struggling feeling even worse. When a person's internal narrative is that they don't measure up, the birthday's social spotlight intensifies those negative thoughts. social anxiety disorder, and subclinical social nervousness create a potent reason to avoid birthdays. Parties are performance situations. People are expected to be gracious, witty, and grateful. For those who fear scrutiny, a birthday becomes a concentrated social test. Unpredictable interactions, awkward conversations, and the expectation of gratitude. Clinical and popular accounts of social anxiety list exposure to evaluative situations, speeches, performances, spotlight moments as common triggers. Informal reporting and psycheducation pieces note that birthdays occupy the same category for some people. Beyond social anxiety, birthdays can spur cognitive distortions. Catastrophizing, it will be a disaster. Men dreading, they'll think I'm boring. And personalization, it's my fault if the party is dull. Cognitive therapy frameworks show how these distortions maintain avoidance, and how gently challenging them can reduce distress. A succinct clinical aim of cognitive therapy is to help a person be unburdened by his past and future, and to live in the present with full meaning and satisfaction. That focus, moving toward present-centered experience rather than catastrophic future thinking, is useful for birthday-related anxiety. Birthdays mark the passage of time. For some, the reminder of aging awakens existential anxieties, loss of youth, missed opportunities, or confrontation with mortality. Viktor Frankl and existential thinkers emphasize that meaning-making is central to coping with life's finitude. Frankl's famous line, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how," points to the healing power of anchoring life in tasks and purposes that transcend age or a single day. For some people who balk at birthday parties, the day compels an honest reckoning with priorities, and that reckoning can be uncomfortable. Existential discomfort is not the same as pathology. For many, a quiet revaluation on a birthday can be a constructive moment, a chance to reassert values, set intentions, or practice gratitude. But when existential reflection turns into dread about an inevitable decline, for instance, avoidance of a birthday becomes a protective ritual. Culture shapes how birthdays are interpreted. In some cultures and families, birthdays are central communal rituals. In others, they are private or even discouraged. Anthropological and psychological scholarship shows that cultural variation matters. What one community treats as an emotionally salient rite, another treats as trivial. The social script around birthdays, who organizes, who is expected to show up, and what counts as good celebration, can create conflict when a person's preferences differ from the prevailing norm. Interpersonally, relationship dynamics matter. If someone's partners, parents, or friends insist on large displays, the person who dislikes birthdays may feel pressured to conform. That pressure can amplify resistance. Being compelled into a performance tends to activate both resentment and anxiety. A healthy approach recognizes the person's right to choose how they mark the day, and invites negotiation rather than coercion. For a subset of people, birthdays may become triggers tied to trauma or dissociative experiences. Trauma theory emphasizes that certain cues, smells, sounds, or dates can reactivate implicit memories and physiological Clinical authors like Bessel van der Kolk note that trauma often lodges in bodily experience and can be reignited by rituals that mirror past events. In such cases, avoidance is not merely preference but a survival strategy, and careful therapeutic work is needed to integrate the memory and reduce reactivity. If birthdays reliably provoke flashbacks, dissociation, severe panic, or marked distress that interferes with functioning, this is a signal to consult a qualified mental health professional. Effective trauma treatments, including evidence-based psychotherapies and, where appropriate, somatic interventions, can reduce the grip of trauma-related cues. Not everyone who dislikes birthdays needs therapy. Often, simple reframing and boundary setting are enough to make the day manageable and meaningful. But there are helpful strategies across 3 domains. 1. Self-understanding. 2. Skills and practical changes. And 3. Relational negotiation. 1. Self-understanding, relabeling, and meaning-making. Reframe. Instead of I must celebrate like others, think, I get to choose how to mark this day. Normalizing preference reduces shame. Reflection, use the day for quiet reflection or a small ritual that aligns with your values. Donations, journaling, a nature walk. This converts the day into a personally meaningful event rather than a mandated performance. 2. Skills and practical changes, gradual exposure plus cognitive tools. Gradual exposure. If social anxiety is a driver, gently increase low-risk social interactions and practice tolerating moderate discomfort. Small gatherings or controlled time limits help. Cognitive restructuring. Notice catastrophic predictions, everyone will judge me, and test them with evidence. Over time, disconfirmed predictions reduce anxiety. Safety planning. If you attend a gathering, set an exit plan, designate a quiet corner, or create a nonverbal cue with a trusted friend to step out when overwhelmed. 3. Relational negotiation. Communicating needs. Communicate early and clearly about what you want. A quiet dinner, a simple message, or no celebration at all. Most friends will respect autonomy when given a clear alternative. Offer compromises. Propose a low-key way to connect: coffee, a walk that still allows others to show appreciation without forcing a big event. Therapy's cognitive behavior. Therapy CBT is helpful for social anxiety and avoidance. For trauma-related avoidance, somatic therapies and trauma-focused psychotherapies, EMD, trauma-focused CBT or integrative approaches are sometimes appropriate. As Aaron T. Beck framed cognitive therapy's aim, helping a person become less burdened by past and future concerns, supports living with meaning and satisfaction, which is often at the heart of moving beyond avoidance. For people who dislike conventional birthday rituals, think micro-rituals, short, safe acts that carry meaning without exposure. Examples include writing a letter to your future self, planting a tree or a small plant, making a playlist that captures the past year, or donating a small sum to a cause you value. These acts transform the birthday into a private marker of growth and continuity. They are consistent with Viktor Frankl's principle that meaning-making can transform suffering into a life-affirming activity. Another gentle option is boundary-based communication templates that allow friends to show care without forcing public attention. For instance, I appreciate you thinking of me. I prefer quiet days, but I'd love to catch up one-on-one next week. That kind of script diffuses the social expectation while preserving relationships. Avoidance is common and often benign, but seek professional help if the birthday avoidance is part of a broader pattern of social withdrawal causing distress. If the day triggers panic attacks, flashbacks, dissociation, or severe depressive episodes, or if the avoidance is linked to self-harm ideas or marked impairment, trauma-related responses warrant clinicians experienced in trauma-informed care. Evidence-based treatments exist and can reduce distress and improve quality of life. Case vignettes anonymized and illustrative. 1. Maya, 34, introvert and family history of unpredictable celebrations. Maya hated surprise parties because her childhood had alternated between being ignored and being publicly scolded on birthdays. She negotiated with her family for a quiet dinner and began a private ritual of writing 3 gratitudes each birthday. This small practice decreased anticipatory anxiety and gave the day a stable meaning. 2. Arman, 42, social anxiety intensified by social media. Arman feared being judged by social media posts. He deleted public tags and opted for a private texting circle. He used CBT techniques to test catastrophic thoughts and found that reality did not match worst-case imaginings. 3. City, 28, trauma-linked anniversary. For City, the birthday date overlapped with a traumatic event anniversary, with trauma-focused therapy and somatic practices grounding. Breathwork, the date lost its automatic association with terror. She learned to build a new, personally safe ritual. These vignettes show that avoidance responds to tailored, respectful interventions, from boundary communication to therapy. tuned to the person's needs. There is no single right way to mark a birthday. The cultural script that equates celebration with happiness is incomplete. Some people gain joy from parties, others from solitude. Psychological health is not measured by how loudly one celebrates a date on the calendar, but by whether one's choices are aligned with authentic values and whether distress is manageable. If you dislike birthdays, your feeling is meaningful data, not a moral failing. It signals aspects of your temperament, history, and current life context. Treat that signal with curiosity rather than judgment. As Susan Cain reminds us, honoring one's innate style, including a preference for quiet or small-scale rituals, is an act of self-acceptance.